Back, our Double Jab boxing segment on the show. Very good card. That'll take place on September 4th down at the Entertainment and Sports Arena in Washington. And a very good-looking middleweight contender who had his hands full, and I'll tell you, showed a tremendous amount of toughness and heart against Berlanga is Demond Nicholson. He'll take on DeCarlo Perez, who's right in our backyard, Pleasantville in Atlantic City. But we got Demond for a couple moments. Always good to talk a little boxing with our guy. How you been, D?
I've been good, man. Thanks for having me, brother.
It's all good. It's all good. We appreciate it. And, you know, I just mentioned, to that Berlanga fight, I mean, I'll tell you what, we talked a little bit prior to that fight, and I was not shocked that you finished that fight. You know, I think a lot of people were like, man, this Demond Nicholson, this guy's going down and down. But you took a young fighter the distance.
Yeah.
You know, forget about him for a moment. What did you learn about yourself in that fight?
Honestly, I learned by myself that, I grew up around fighters like Lamar Peterson.
Yep.
And old school fighters, And I seen the side of that in me, one of those fighters who never give up, always going to get up and fight, regardless of any situation. That fight really showed my true colors,
Yeah, I think it did.
Especially, not to cut you off, especially when you're focused, training hard, everything is right on point. I just made one mistake in that second round, and it kind of messed up the way the fight was supposed to go. But I'm not making no excuses, But it was a great night, man. I enjoyed it.
Now, it's funny you mention that, right? Because you're right. I mean, it's boxing. You're not always supposed to do what your opponent wants you to do. And I think the fact that you kept getting back up and you caught him, too, a couple times. Sometimes you lose the fight, but you lose the battle, but you win the war, and there's a ton of respect.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think that's how you have to look at it. You look at your opponent coming in for this one in September, and DeCarlo Perez, a kid that I'm very familiar with. He's had a long layoff, but, at times he can be a volume puncher, doesn't have a ton of power, but he's a tough opponent. Have you watched any film on him, or do you leave that to your team?
I actually no. I definitely watch my opponents, but from looking what I've seen in his past fights, not just his fights, it looked like he trains very hard and works hard, man. So I definitely expect for him to come in well refreshed and ready, because you can't really judge a man on his past fights or and stuff like that. And stop. But like when you take 3 years off, you well rested, well recovered. So he looks like a dangerous guy.
Yeah, he's strong. Like, he's filled out. He's strong. And like I said, 6 knockouts, or 5 knockouts, I should say, in his career. The one thing I always look at, when fighters get knocked out, how do they typically respond, right? He had that knockout loss to Rob Brandt, who was undefeated at the time, came back, lost to Deshaun Johnson, but then fought Lionel Bellows, who also fought Berlanga, won that one, got knocked out again, and then came back and had a nice win against Antoine Akins for the vacant USA New Jersey State middleweight title. So that tells me right there that the character's there, the toughness in the heart is there, right? Because you can lose a couple of them and get knocked out, and then all of a sudden, some fighters decide, I'm just going to crawl under a rock. For a fact, a fighter that's had 3 years layoff is well rested, and he's probably in his mind, he's saying to himself, you know what? I got something to prove. I want people to know that DeCarlo Perez can still fight. Is that in the back of your mind as an opponent?
That's definitely in my mind. So, that's why when I took this fight, I was like, okay, it's not even though it's home, it's not a bad fight to take. Personally, my fight with Berlanga, this is a good fight. Dude got a good record, but at the same time, he's been off 3 years, but he know how to fight. Yeah. It's because he's been off 3 years, that doesn't mean nothing. When you can fight, man, you can fight. So, man, this fight, it's going to be a great fight, man. He's definitely going to bring it, man. So I prepare the World Championship, and I took it extremely serious.
You look at the circumstances surrounding the card. Unfortunately, Dusty Hernandez-Harrison has the ankle injury, so you guys now, that fight is jettisoned to the main event. Right. That's got to give you a little juice, right, being the main event, being, you've had time before.
It's a good feeling, man. I can't lie to you. It's a good feeling. especially being home and stuff like that. I'm not going to lie to you. I feel bad for Dusty, because he went off too. I'm pretty sure he's excited to get back in the ring, but I'm definitely excited, to be the main event on the card and really, give people a good show.
Where do you put yourself right now? And it's kind of a loaded question, but when you look at, super middleweights, 168 and whatnot, you look at yourself in that division, you got a top 10, top 11 ranking. When you look at some of the other fighters, you fought Berlanga, you got the Durrell, you got Rosado, you got Plant, you look at some of those guys, where do you where would you say, okay, this is where I measure up, or do you don't even care about that? Realistically speaking, just outside of myself,
like say if I was like just somebody watching, looking in from the outside, I would say, I'm a contender, people look at me as one of those fighters who's the gatekeeper or keep people in the loop, But me, myself, I know, man, I'm a top contender, it's only a matter of time. It's only a matter of time when I get my chance at a world title or another or a big man. So
Well, yeah. I mean, listen, you're 23-4-1, so no one's going to sit there and say you're a journeyman fighter. No one's going to say that. So I think you still there, Demond? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Can you hear me, brother?
Yeah, I got you now. Go ahead. It's like the Verizon commercial.
You'd be surprised what I hear from some people. But man, man, I'm a top contender, man. It's only a matter of time before I really get to where I want to be. That's why I took this fight with DeCarlo Perez to keep myself busy, and hopefully, man, I'll be back in November, back on the big screen.
I'm just curious. I know you're obviously not going to give the game plan away, but knowing that you've got an opponent with that layoff, do you want to try to test them a little bit early on, or are you more let me just see how the fight? Let me just see the flow of the fight.
Honestly, to keep it 100% real with you, I don't want this fight to go to distance, man. I just I'm just one of those fighters, man. I don't enjoy going the distance, man. I want to get a knockout. I don't want it to last long. But I'm gonna see how the fight goes. Of course, I can't let him warm up. Also, he's like you said, he hasn't fought in 3 years, so he's going to have to warm up the first 2, 3, 4 rounds. Yeah. But I'm stepping on the gas, man. I can't play. We don't get paid overtime.
Listen, it could make for an explosive fight because, like I said, he's a tough fighter, man. He's got a lot of heart. He's got a tough chin. He's overcome a lot of adversity, and you would think a little bit of a layoff, a couple years, man, you're itching to get back in there. Whether you can, you use it to your advantage or not, you always have to be wary of your opponent. You got to respect your opponent.
And that's what I'm going to do 100%. But one thing about every fighter, no matter, I don't care who any man, when you break them down precisely and to the T, every man's gonna fall. He might get back up, but he's gonna fall.
Do you have any thoughts on the card this weekend, the Pacquiao-Ugas fight? A lot of people think that, with that layoff with Pacquiao being 41-42, you can all of a sudden really turn into a 42-year-old man inside the ring.
Yeah, I you know what? Honestly, man, I don't think Pacquiao's gonna be rusty at all. I don't think this is not Pacquiao's first layoff or nothing like that. He stays in shape. He's a great fighter, man. That's like people like him, man. We just fighters. We get everything. We pick up everything. Actually, he might, if he does look rusty, it's only gonna be in the first or second round, and then from there he's gonna pick right up.
Yeah. And then the news came down today with Alvarez and Plant, at first gloss.
Yeah.
How would you, as a fighter, how would you handicap that? Yeah, that's a huge fight. How would you handicap that fight?
That's a big fight. Honestly, man, that's it. See, that's a good question. We haven't really seen Caleb get really hit by nobody yet, but we have seen him box. We have seen him use his legs. And everybody knows, when Canelo gets in there with somebody who can move and jab a little, he's going to struggle a little bit. So I think for the first 6 to 7, 8 rounds, Caleb is going to throw Canelo off. But you never know with Canelo, man. The way he's been showing up these past few fights, man, hurting these guys, man. So it's definitely going to be a good fight. But I mean, I don't know. I can't handicap. That's a fight. That's a fight. I really can't really handicap. But you can't. You'll be a dummy to go against Canelo.
No, you're right. I mean, no, you're right. But also,
right.
Let's not take for granted, Plant, right? 21.
Right. Yeah, you can't.
Yeah.
I was in camp. I was in camp with Caleb for his last fight, man, and got to know him not just as a person, but as a fighter. And that kid. Not that kid. He's not a kid, but that man, that guy, man. He has what it takes to be one of the best.
Yeah, but I also think a fighter like that and you from the human side, you both you've lived life, man. You know what I'm saying? Like you've had serious stuff happen in your life. I think that hardens you a little bit.
Exactly. So when you go in that ring, man, it's nothing to be afraid of. Whatever the game plan is, we're going to attack it and we're going to stick to it and get the job done. So I think with Caleb, that's just pretty much it. It's not too much he hasn't seen yet. Not just in the ring, but in life. So this right here is just going to be something that he can add to. He can say, this is what I did. It's life. I think, but honestly though, I think Caleb does have a chance though.
Listen, I give him a puncher's chance. You just gotta, you gotta withstand the storm, right? Because eventually when Alvarez comes at you, and that assault, you got to be able to get through those rounds unscathed. And then,
exactly.
Yeah, you never know what happens. Again, 20 past the 5 o'clock hour. Rich Quinones here. Demond Nicholson joining us. He's got a big fight coming up against DeCarlo Perez, September 4th. That'll be at the Entertainment Sports Arena in Washington. That's a headliner. All right, I know this might be a little loaded question for you, but I'm curious because I know you have an opinion about it. We saw it with one of your beltweight guys about 2 weeks ago in the Fox decision with the scoring.
Michael Fox.
Yeah, as a fighter, man, how disheartening is it when you have to deal with a scorecard or judging like that?
Man, it's very heartbreaking. I can tell you that. I can say that number one. It's a very big heartbreak. It's like, man, the girl you love the most, and you just lose her. It's heartbreaking, man. It really is. And to continue that, I'm not gonna lie, that was one of the worst robberies I've seen in a long time.
It was horrible. It was horrible.
Yeah. That was one of the worst robberies I've seen in a long time. And Mike, I know Mike personally. I know him on boxing level. Mike is like a brother of mine, and I know how hard he works. So that alone, just based off how hard he works, how dedicated he is to the sport and to his craft, man. I know, man. I know. I would cry real tears. Like really, like I would cry real tears, man. And what these judges don't understand is we really give boxing our all. Like when I tell you, we sacrifice everything, time, not just everything. Everything from everyone. And to see that happen, man, it was sad, man. It was sad. It was very sad.
I think the worst thing, and even some of the fights that I call, and I know sometimes, I'll sometimes make a crack on the air when it's taken too long for the decision. Paraphrase, someone's getting screwed. And before the decision was read, in my gut, I'm like, you know what? They're going to screw this kid. And that's exactly,
you know what?
Yeah.
I told my dad, I said, man, they're going to make this fight a draw. Watch. I said, it's nowhere near a draw. But I said, I'm sitting there looking at the punch stats. I said, the punch stats are correct. but the judges, they're going to use the punch set and give the fight to him or make it a draw. And that's exactly what they did. But after the 9th round, I'm like, oh, Mike got it. Mike shut. It was a complete shutout. After the 9th round, it's like Mike just shut him out after the 9th round. Up into the 9th round, it was like, they might give it a draw. But after the 9th round, it's like Mike just took completely over the entire fight. So I was like, yeah, he got it. It's no question. And when they did that, I said, wow. I said, wow.
But see, my thing is, I don't have a problem if, like, on, say, what if I'm judging the fight and maybe if it's a close fight and some rounds are, it's all subjective and you got, turning point rounds and whatnot, maybe you turn around and you're like, well, this could have been a draw or 114, 114, 115. But it's so egregious when you flip it the other way. And this is not the first time with the WBA, man. The WBA has had issues going all the way back. I mean, I remember many moons ago, Sports Illustrated basically accused the WBA back in like the early 80s of paying off judges and officials. And if I'm a fighter like Fox, like I want to know who the hell is going to be judging my fight going forward.
Right. I totally agree. And the crazy thing about it is now that score and we know about the WBA that's happened, now going forward, we shouldn't have no more problems like that. Like going forward, when somebody's fighting for a WBA, anything with the WBA, you need to look into who's working, who's judging, who's doing everything. That way we won't have to deal with anything like that. Now if it happens again, hey, caught you one time, you shouldn't get caught again, But now I'm just glad we know. At the same time, I'm not glad because the way it happened, but at the same time, moving forward, I'm glad we know. Because Mike's definitely going to be back. That's without a doubt. The way he looked, man, in that fight, man, he's going to be right back on the scene without a doubt.
Yeah,
so now we know what to do moving forward.
Yeah, I've gone on record, and I'll continue to say it. You suspend them for 6 months, and then a year, they don't get to judge a title fight, and then you ban them for life. That's it. See ya. Goodbye.
Yep.
The problem is you need an outside independent commission, like you can't, the boxing can't, I can't have an organization police itself.
Exactly.
I mean, come on, man.
100%.
Yeah, I'm being honest. You gotta have some outside cats that have no agenda, no narrative, not taking a check, and that's it. Yeah. See, this is where I get in trouble. This is where I get in trouble because sometimes I just go off a little bit during the broadcast and then I got to hear it afterwards.
but you're 100% right because when there's no feelings involved, you don't have to worry about anything like that. When you care about somebody or you know somebody, oh man, that's the home team. Then regardless of how they look, you're gonna push to that side.
Yep. All right, give me a Pac Ugas prediction.
That's a good one. I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to tell you this because I like both of them are good, genuine men. They're good, genuine men, great fighters, man. I have a lot of respect for both of them. So, of course, I hate going against Pac-Man too. But if I was to bet, I'm going to bet my money on Ugas because of course, I'm going to win money with Ugas. But I would bet my money with Ugas because he's a younger guy. He can fight. He can punch. He's determined. He's awkward. And, he has what it takes to be a champion. But Pac-Man, Pac-Man, he still got that blazing speed. He still has everything it takes to hurt you, to beat you up and everything. So, man, I'm gonna go with Pac-Man.
So, hold on. If you're a bet man, you're going with Ugas, but you're not going to put out any shekels, so you're going with Pac. You're playing it safe.
Playing it safe, yeah. I'm playing it safe.
But the name of the show is Back Your Play. You got to back your play. You got to bring something to the table.
Hey, listen. I think this is what I know from just being a boxer. Period. Ugas has everything it takes to beat Pac-Man.
Well,
he has what it takes to beat him.
You're hedging, man. You are hedging big time.
Yeah.
You know what this is like? This is like the guy at the bar, the guy at the club's talking to Burnett, and then all of a sudden the blind walks in and he excuses himself. All right, give me a prediction for Perez versus Nicholson.
Knockout, second round.
You're going in fast.
Yeah, knockout, second round.
All right. Well, look, I always appreciate a couple moments, pal. You know I enjoy talking boxing.
Man, always, brother, always.
All right. Good luck. Good luck on the 9th. Hopefully we'll see, or I should say the 4th. Hopefully we'll see you down there, and we'll talk along the way, pal. Appreciate it.
That's a bet, man. I'll see you and talk to you soon, brother.
All right. You got it. All right. There you have it. Demond Nicholson. Always a good. That's fantastic stuff. He was hedging. Demond was hedging his bet. You know it, and I know it. All right. Quick timeout. We'll come back on the other side.